In your wanderings, you stumble upon a ruined temple buried deep within the heart of the forest. Wary, you continue on through thick overgrowth until you see a clearing that was once an ancient cathedral built by people, now rebuilt by nature itself. In the center is a preserved altar, stacked with various dice of all shapes and colors. As you contemplate what this means, a cloaked figure approaches from the shadows.
Welcome, brave adventurer. Have you come to roll the dice? Explore strange new worlds with new strange rules? If you seek adventure worthy of being shared with good friends, you have come to the right place. Just roll for initiative.
Welcome to the Nat One Nerds podcast.
All right. I will say, if you ever make it over to Improv Tabletop, you'll see Ned is traditionally our GM. He knows this game backwards and forwards and every which way, so I may occasionally ask for a clarifying question here or there. So if you want to hear someone who really knows what they're doing, go ahead and listen to that one. That being said, I have done quite a few of these, so I'm excited to stretch my muscles in the Fate world.
It's always fun to switch seats.
Yeah, I can't technically guarantee that I will be a good Fate player because I've never done it before.
A podcast full of firsts.
You've played so many characters, just never any PCs.
Yeah.
All right, then. I will go ahead and I will get us started. Let me go ahead and grab my notes here, if that's okay. Our scene opens on a snowy blanketed highway. It's late. There's really only one car on the road. As we get closer, it begins to veer worryingly towards the guardrail. We see a man sitting inside, distractedly looking over at paperwork as the snow falls around him. And in that moment, he grits his teeth because he sees again a number is wrong. The sheets aren't adding up. He knew there was something wrong and he should have stayed at the office. He almost goes to turn around, and as he looks up, a loud noise and white light. The next person we see, a cocky young man, seems to be pacing back and forth in front of a more grizzled-looking individual. He's spouting off some sort of non sequitur about a pop culture reference that most people wouldn't understand, but he seems to be enjoying himself, and he fails to notice as this gruff-looking man reaches into his pocket, pulls out a gun, and again, a loud noise and a white flash. Finally, we see a final man, also in a car, but more of a carriage of sorts. A horseless carriage is what we'll call it.
Mhm.
He's got packages and letters all around him. He's braving his way through the storm as he is wont to do. He mutters a creed to himself about how he will bear any sort of weather. And unfortunately, this time the weather bears him right off a cliff. And there's a loud noise and a white flash. The three of you open your eyes at the same time. And you look around and you see the other people there, as well as a new individual. A young woman in her mid-20s, it looks like, a very sharp red suit, and a clipboard in her hands. Hello, welcome to the afterlife.
Wait, what do you mean the afterlife? It's tax season. I gotta get these back to my boss.
Well, you know what they say, death and taxes. Welcome to the other part.
But well, you see, I got this wonderful rocking horse from Wichita that I need to give to little Johnny Turner over in town. I gotta make sure he gets his Christmas present.
Oh, well, luckily we have a man on staff for that. And she kind of touches the side of her nose and you hear, ho, 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 like echoing off in the corridor somewhere.
Okay, now I know you're messing with me, because there's no such thing as Santa Claus. That's a myth.
Oh, you have a lot to learn. Anyway, yes, welcome to the afterlife. You have all perished. We're very happy you're here.
Is this supposed to be a knockoff of It's a Wonderful Life?
Oh, you're aware of that. Mostly true story, actually, funny enough. Clarence actually works over in acquisitions now. Good guy. Anyway, yes, we actually happen to have 3 new positions, and you have all lived decent enough lives that you have been assigned your new roles. If you will please take these. And she kind of reaches out into space, and these 3 packages kind of just apparate into her hand as she hands each of you a different package. Deggy, yours is this ghastly black robe. And as you pull it out, there's in this, normal size package, I'd say like 2 feet by 1 foot by like 6 inches, just a regular package. There's also like a 12-foot scythe somehow, a big cloak, and also these interesting like gloves that look like skeleton hands.
Now, ma'am, pardon me, I don't believe I caught your name.
Oh, yes, my name is Clarissa.
Clarissa, now, it's a wonderful name, but first of all, just let me state, this here is not approved uniform for the United States Postal Service. In fact, if I wear this, people are going to think that I'm bringing the gloom of night rather than, working through the gloom of night.
Well, very good note. You'll be happy to know. You're retired, or you can think of it... Oh no. And she kind of like looks around and rubs her forehead. What I should say, think of this as a promotion. You're no longer limited to the United States. You'll be working on a global scale, delivering a very specific message.
Wait, did you say we're working on a global scale? I don't know if I can balance that many books. That's a lot of paperwork. Are you sure I have the time for that?
And Whatsly, as you look down and you're kind of trying to figure out what's going on, you open up your package, and it's oddly similar to Deggy's, only it is white. It is this white flowing robe and a sort of strange mask that, as you kind of hold it up, the light kind of catches it, and you see faces in it, like oddly familiar faces. You can't seem to put a finger on whose faces these are, but this mask seems to have faces.
Oh,
well,
this is a very interesting mask. Did this belong to someone that I knew? It seems to seem familiar from somewhere.
Oh, you actually may have heard of this, but it is yours now. And you, she flips over a page on her clipboard. Sam Turner, is it? Yes.
Yes, and I am a psychic.
You don't quite catch it, but the other 2 do. You see a slight half smile come up on her lips. Yes, quite accomplished one too. If you'll open up your package as well, and as you do, another set of robes, but these ones are a bit unlike the others, very voluminous and red. There's fur lining, and you don't have a scythe or a mask. You have this very large torch that seems to just have an ever-burning flame, and you're like, you sort of freak out for a second, but it's not burning anything. It doesn't seem to be burning the package or even your hand or anything.
This is the weirdest fanfic crossover of classical literature I've ever seen.
Well, we have a few writers here, and they may have gotten a little drunk one night and done some interesting revisions, but this is our system now. You see, you actually will all be taking over for 3 others who have recently retired. Are you at all familiar with Charles Dickens?
I'm afraid that I'm not. I never had much time to catch up on literature. I was always in the books, the ones with the numbers. I didn't get into those literature ones.
Well, in fact, I was about to deliver a set of scripts to the local players' society so they could put on their performance, but unfortunately that's going to be delayed, it seems.
Oh, I see. I get it now. Let me guess. Christmas past, present, and future?
Right on. You are absolutely correct. Yes, you will be filling in. They have all retired, and You are the replacements. We have chosen you. You have been selected specifically for your skills in life. You will be granted new skills now. And your first job, and she pulls out a pocket watch, an oddly large, ornate golden pocket watch that seems like if it was actually in her pocket, it would just be an unnecessarily large bulge, but it just seems to kind of slip out, and she looks at it. Your job starts now. Luckily, we do always have someone from the person's previous life go ahead and deliver the news that you three will be coming. But once they get back, looks like Whatsly, you're up first.
I guess I can give this a shot. Is there any books around here that I could look through with some information on how this works, or?
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked. Too many people just run into these things without doing the proper research, especially if you're unfamiliar. And again, she just reaches into an empty space and pulls out not a book, but a tome. Just a massive bound book that is faded with age. There's just this huge leather covering on it. And it's, as she opens it in front of you, it is, luckily for you, almost written out like a ledger. It seems to be each person that has been haunted, who haunted them, whether or not they were successful in helping them change their life, and it just kind of like gives a little synopsis of their whole process.
Oh, thank you. This is perfect. This should give me about 10 minutes and I can get through this whole thing.
Perfect. Does anyone have any questions before we start?
Yes, I have one.
Yes, Mr. Turner.
And he holds up his cloak. He's like, does this design come in like a pineapple theme or anything like that at all? No?
She kind of furrows her brow. And pulls out a little, like a pin and sticks it on the lapel of the cloak. It's a little yellow and green pineapple. Does that suffice?
Yes, I think that'll do quite nicely.
Are you from the tropics, sir?
No, I'm just a huge pineapple enthusiast.
I guess that's understandable. They're quite delicious.
They are indeed. I find it to be the best housewarming gift to give to people.
Yeah, you put that with some figs and some cherries into a nice fruit cake, and there's nothing tastier you can imagine these sides of the Mississippi.
Maybe not the best housewarming gift for you, then. No offense.
Oh, I don't have a house anymore, apparently. Let's get on with this.
And as you're all kind of, donning your robes, getting ready, she says, "Oh, one last thing. This is the afterlife, and time does flow at a different sort of pace. Your minds will begin to grasp it the longer you're here. If there are any confusions, well, I'm sure you'll figure it out. The person you will be haunting," and she flips through it, "is a one Mr. Chevy Chase."
Miss, I think I found a typo in this ledger.
Oh, what is it?
This person's name, I think, was spelled incorrectly. This is a very odd spelling of it. Are you sure that this is correct?
Let me see. What name is that?
It says Jeffrey, but it's spelled like Geoffrey. I don't know how this one works.
Yes. No, that is actually just an alternate spelling. It becomes popular after your death, I believe.
I guess people after my death. How? I guess you did say time works differently. I apologize. Please continue.
No problem at all. Yes, the man you will be haunting tonight will be Chevy Chase. We pull that up here. All right, it looks like he is 79 years old and should be going to bed just about now. All right, and she flips another page. Perfect.
And excuse me, how is that name spelled?
Oh, yes.
Make sure it's not one of those newfangled spellings.
Exactly like you think it is. Chevy Chase.
Thank you.
Absolutely, not a problem at all. So, you've got the spelling. All you will need to do is don the mask, and you will be transported directly to where you need to be.
And what do I need to do once I get there? Do I scare the guy? Am I haunting him? Am I balancing his ledgers?
You are balancing his ledgers, in a sense. The ledger of his life. If you look here, and she kind of stands next to you and points at some of the ledgers to show you on different lines how things kind of work. You'll be taking him back through his life, through pivotal moments, to try and help him reconcile who he wanted to be, the good man, and who he became. You'll want to help him realize the error of his ways and begin the process. Of course, your job will not be to finish that. You will have your two companions here to wrap up the process, but you sort of get things started.
It's like the Cancun Shell Company all over again. I guess I'll give it a shot.
Wonderful. I appreciate it very much. If you'll put on your mask.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick the mask on and see what happens.
And as he's about to go, Sam will reach over, grasp your shoulder, look you dead in the eye, and he says, "May the odds ever be in your favor."
I mean, I hope so too. If the odds are out of my favor, that's a lot of extra paperwork.
And as you begin muttering about paperwork, you slip the mask on, and you blink, and you see, just sort of like a balloon pop. He's just gone, and there's almost like a little effervescent bubbling that trails down where he was. But Whatsly, you, in an instant, like blinking, you are in one place and then another. You now stand in by what your understanding is, a massive mansion, a lavish home, very well decorated, and a beautiful bed lies out in front of you. Lying on the bed is an old man. He's wearing a white shirt, and as you approach, you notice it is stained red.
What time frame is this person's life in currently? Like, what year is it?
You have that question in your mind, and instinctively, just the knowledge comes to you. This is what you would consider a relatively distant future. This is the year 2022.
Oh my. Can I find his alarm clock?
You look around for, an alarm clock. A nice, solid metal alarm clock with the bells to ring, and you don't see anything like that.
Blast, how am I going to wake this sir up? I'm gonna tap him on the shoulder.
You approach and you tap him on the shoulder. He doesn't move.
Mr. Chase Chevy?
He doesn't move, and you kind of shake him on the shoulder. He doesn't move. And you kind of roll him over, and what looked like it might have been a stain from, strawberry jam or perhaps a plate of red pasta sauce you see is the man's own blood.
Oh my goodness. I've never dealt with blood like this before. I'm gonna just call up to the ceiling. Is he okay? Did I do something wrong?
And you kind of look around, your voice echoing in the silent room.
Is he here? Are you alive, sir? Is there any way to check and see if he's alive? Can I check for a pulse?
You know what? Go ahead and give me the first roll of the night. Give me a clever roll.
Oh, that's add them together, it's a -1, I think. Okay. I got 2 minuses and a plus.
2 minuses and a plus, and your clever, I believe, is a +3, correct?
Yes.
So that makes it a +2 in total, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so a +2 is enough to know that, yes, this man is very dead.
Ah. Is there any spirit around or anything? Because I can't convince this guy if he's dead.
As you look around, you don't see anything, and then you begin to feel sort of like a pulling sensation, like suddenly you're falling, but it's pulling you backwards, and you're sort of sucked out of the room, and now you are back with the other two. Not in the same exact space. You're now sort of in what looks like a conference room, a large, sort of elongated round table. The other two already sitting, and Clarissa at the other end, and you are now standing next to your chair, and Clarissa looks more than a little bit distraught.
Excuse me, miss, I don't know how we're supposed to help him balance anything when he's dead.
Well, that is very worrying.
Makes my job pretty easy. If he's got no future, I don't have to do anything to try and convince him.
And she kind of gives you like a dirty look. Yes, he should have had a future. And she's like flipping through her clipboard and like pulling up all these different notes. There's a few interns that run in and out handing her papers. This is unprecedented. How could this happen? And she kind of flips through a few notes. And his spirit. Oh, we didn't have a chance to help him, so he's unfortunately quite unreachable from where we are. Oh no.
Unreachable? Do you mean that he's in hell?
Oh, well, it's not as black and white as some people believe, but suffice it to say, he's in a place that you would rather not be, yes. Oh dear. If you'll excuse me, you three, I'll be back in a moment. And she kind of scurries out the room and leaves you three to your devices for a little bit.
Well, golly, if this job's over, maybe I'll be able to get back to my deliveries pretty soon. I mean, I had a plan to go back home and put on some hot toddies and listen to the radio for a little bit.
I look at you and I say, clearly the odds were not in your favor.
Are you referencing something? I did my best. It's not like I killed the man.
You never... What year are you from?
1987?
This is unbelievable.
I mean, we're dead and we're being the Grim Reaper and whatever this light thing is supposed to be. I think unbelievable is kind of out of the realm of what we need to worry about at the moment.
Yes, I will say I can't help but wondering, seems to be a bit of a mystery on our hands. If we were supposed to go and help this man, and even the angels or whatever they are in this place we are don't know what happened, goodness golly gracious, there's that part of my brain that wants to solve the problem, can't help stop puttering away.
And as you say that, Clarissa returns. She looks even more frazzled. She had her hair kind of up in a bun, and now there's little flyaways just everywhere. She's got a cup of coffee in one hand now and the clipboard in the other, and the papers are ridiculously stacked on it to the point where there's no way the papers should be sticking to the clipboard anymore, but they still are. It's just a huge pile of papers. And she says, well, I'm afraid we have a problem.
Whatsly's going to instinctively reach for the clipboard and ask if, can I help you organize that a little bit?
Oh, please, anything to help at this moment. And she just hands over the clipboard.
Thank you. Continue on. Sorry. Start shuffling.
It seems we've had something of a... Oh, how can I put this in words you'll understand? A data breach. We've been burgled. Our information has been burgled. And it seems someone found out who we were haunting this year and took the opportunity away from us. Normally your job is to help the person that we choose every year, but this year you're going to have a bit of a different job. We need you to find out who took the information and why. We would ask the ghost, but as I said, we don't have information or access to them, so instead of sending you one at a time, I'm sending you all three together. You will have to use the powers of the past, the present, and the future to see, perhaps, in his past, who he might have made enemies with. In his present, who was most upset with him, or in his future, who's happy he's gone. Do you think you can use that? I know your powers are relatively new and you'll have to get used to them, but would you be willing to do that job?
Well, if you're not going to let me go back home, I suppose I have no choice.
Sam is sitting there struggling to think of references to make that his companions would be able to understand. And he just stands up all serious looking and he just simply states, then the game is afoot.
Yes, I love Sherlock. Good stuff.
That is one that I saw once. I think my boss was watching on his TV while I was doing some of his paperwork.
Ah, the good old BBC Sherlock Holmes. I love it. Well, in that case, good luck. And please find this person. We have to figure out how they got in. And she kind of claps her hands, and you all disappear and reappear back in the bedroom. Except there's no body. Sam and Deggy, you don't recognize it, obviously, because it's new, but Whatsly, you do see things don't look exactly the same.
There's nobody here. He was right on the bed before.
Oh, goodness, you leave for a couple of minutes and they come and make a mess of the place. Let's see here now. What do I spot that looks out of place, perhaps?
Go ahead and roll me a clever.
Ooh, honey, that's a +4.
Ooh. In that short interim, Whatsly did tell you what he saw, and you were able to get a little information about it. And you said it was 2022, and you think, and again, the information just comes to you. This isn't 2022. This is the year 2015.
Huh.
And you look around, and other things are different than he initially said. The biggest one that is actually quite apparent to all of you is it's no longer nighttime. It is the middle of the day. You can see light coming in through the windows. You see a nice lawn outside. And as you're all looking around, kind of studying, you hear the door open behind you, and a man walks in.
Oh dear, do we need to worry about him seeing us? Can they see us?
I suppose we can always find out. I turn towards the individual and stand boldly.
And as you do, he holds up a strange-looking device to his ear and is yelling into it, and he walks right through you, not seeming to see you and not seeming to make contact with you. As he's yelling, seems to be talking to someone and saying things along the lines of, "Then why are you my agent? If you can't do this for me, what do I pay you for?" And it seems to be going off and yelling, and eventually holds it up and pushes his finger against it. Sam, you do recognize this as some sort of cell phone. It looks more advanced than anything you've seen, but seems to be talking on a cellular device of some kind. Then you see the man slump on the bed and just sit there for a minute.
Do we recognize this as the person we were supposed to be haunting?
You do, again, instinctively. There's some information that just, as you think about it, it comes to you. Like the time, where you are, and sort of who you're seeing. As long as it is the haunted. And this is Mr. Chase, it seems. And Whatsly, he does look similar, a little younger than when you saw him, but it does look like him. And as you're sitting there kind of looking around, he pulls out the phone again and calls someone else, or maybe the same person, and then begins kind of just muttering into the phone, "All right, it looks like things aren't gonna be as simple as I thought." And as he talks, the scene kind of fades. I need each of you to just take your dice and roll them for me and tell me the result.
-1.
-1.
-1.
Hey.
All right. With that, you all feel sort of a sucking sensation, and you're pulled again. But this time, not to the same place you were before, but something that looks like a stage almost. A little more advanced than perhaps what you would know, Deggy. Whatsly, not too unfamiliar, and Sam, it does look a little old-fashioned, but in fact, Sam, the others might not even logically know where this is. Go ahead and roll me a clever roll. It shouldn't be too hard to figure out where you are.
That is a +4.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, you know exactly where you are. You are on the set of Saturday Night Live.
Sam starts to look very excited by the location where we're at, and he's taking it all in a little.
Deggy and Whatsly, you're in New York City.
Well, goodness, I never thought I'd make it all the way out here someday. This place is only for the glitzy and glamorous.
I mean, I've never been here before. I don't really travel much, so I've only seen pictures. But this place sure is crowded.
And as you say that, you look around and it's quite crowded. There are people running around, people in black clothing, people in costumes, people in makeup, and you see someone, this time significantly younger, but you can still tell that's your target, your person. And he seems again to be yelling. This time at a man slightly older than him, it looks like, in a nice three-piece suit, and he's got his finger in his face, just shaking it back and forth. His own face is turning red as he's yelling about how, "You're nothing without me. The show's nothing without me. I could leave and this whole thing falls apart." And he kind of just throws his hands up and walks away.
Well, this man seems to have quite a lot of people who he was upset with, and presumably are upset with him. This isn't exactly narrowing our pool of suspects.
But I mean, he seems to be yelling at a lot of people here. Is this Halloween? There's lots of people in costumes, and I maybe he got confused with his costume.
Sam's just looking at his two companions, just dumbfounded, like knowing they're from the past, but like still grasping that they don't understand any of this. And the knowledge of not being able to reference things as much just is haunting him himself.
His instincts are just screaming, and he feels like, I can't do anything.
He like doesn't know what exactly to say when normally he would, because it's like he's pulled out of his own time without being able to reference his time.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna follow Mr. Chase. I'm gonna chase Mr. Chase and see if I can't find any other interactions that he's having that may move us in the right direction.
All right. Are you two going to follow him?
Yeah, I'm going to follow.
Sam will definitely follow as well, like trusting in his psychic powers. Because one thing I will say about Sam right now is through this whole experience, he's starting to become convinced that his psychic powers have just grown this large. And that all of this that it's happening is just his ability to now be able to transport himself throughout time. And the challenge is just to figure out how to truly master this newfound ability that his psychic powers have given him.
I like it. All right.
Whatsly is running after them, confusedly putting his mask on and back off, trying to figure it out. He does anything.
And you two can see as he puts it on, he starts to look like people around him, and then takes it off and then puts it on and people around him. Again, the faces are just flashing through. You follow him into a dressing room of sorts, and he kind of just, again, sits in the chair. Someone comes up to start doing his makeup, and he brushes them off. This time he reaches and he grabs a corded phone off of the table in front of him, punches in some numbers.
That's that one. I recognize that one.
And he punches in some numbers and he holds up the phone to his ear and he says, "Yes. Williamson Agency? Yeah, connect me to Johnny."
Johnny.
And you kind of say that for a second, and then you hear, "Well, I'll tell you what, I'm only doing one season of this show. Lloyd is completely unbearable. He doesn't recognize what I'm doing for him. If I leave, this whole thing falls apart, and he doesn't even recognize that." And with that, I need everybody to roll their dice again.
-3.
Oh, dear.
+2.
+4.
Okay. With that, you all feel a sucking sensation, but this time not pulling you back, but pulling you forward. And forward, and more further forward. You kind of stumble out of it, and you look around you. Instinctively, you know, this is the year 2023.
Ah, my domain.
And with that, you kind of get a flash of insight. You've kind of been confused in the past and the present, but something about being even further in the future, you sort of just know things about how life is different now. You know about cell phones, you know about television, and these things are just kind of entering your mind as if you've always known them. It's sort of a disassociating experience and sort of strange. But you all look around you and you see you're standing in a graveyard. And you see a large crowd gathered around a tombstone. There are cameras and there are lights, and you see the name on the stone. It is one Chevy Chase.
I'm gonna look around this crowd and see if I can detect anybody who maybe seems happy at this funeral.
Okay, go ahead and roll me another clever check.
That's a flat 0.
Flat 0. A lot of people are wearing, large hats or veils or things. It's a little hard to read the situation and read individuals. The general air is one of mourning, but I will say, even with the 0, you can tell it's not as deep as even some funerals you've been to in your day. Seems to be
I would like
superficial.
to throw a fate point at that, because
Okay.
I'm just doing my job here for whatever angels are trying to help have me find out who killed this man.
Perfect.
So invoke my high concept aspect, just doing my job, to increase that to a +2.
Absolutely. And when you use fate point, you usually need to back it up with either an aspect, one of your troubles, or something like that to justify using that fate point to get you that boost. So I think that absolutely works. You are just doing your job. And with that, something catches your eye as the person giving the eulogy is sort of going on about, it's a true tragedy, he lived a wonderful long life. Unfortunately, no information has yet come about of how he passed away, and, going on. You see, with a +2, you see a woman in the crowd who you can't say you've ever seen before, but something about her looks familiar. That's all you're really getting, is there's this one woman. She doesn't seem to be wearing all black. She's got a gray skirt on and a black blouse. But she doesn't seem upset at all, really. Most people seem to have, at least a modicum of mourning about them. This woman seems relatively at peace, to a point where it does come out to you.
And I'll nudge my friends in the ribs and point out this individual.
And as he does so, Sam just turns to him and he says, "What do your elf eyes see?"
I think he's a mailman, not an elf.
Yeah,
And-
I mean, there have been plenty of instances where they asked me to, put on the ears and be like, "Oh, you're Santa's elf helping to deliver the presents. Ha ha ha, won't that be funny?" No, it wasn't funny, Johnny. But you know what? In this instance, I can make an exception, I suppose. This woman does not look very upset about this person's death.
Is there any way we can identify who she is?
Sam is going to go ahead and try to use what are really his powers of observation, but to him, he's going to reach out psychically and try to get a read on this woman about who she might be, whether it's potential occupation, her demeanor, if she could potentially be a relative, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. So you kind of get up closer, all three of you, and you're looking at her, and you're trying to figure out what it is that looks familiar. Because at this point now, you're all saying she does look familiar, but why? So Sam, go ahead and roll me a clever check. And Whatsly, if you could actually, for my own reasons, roll me a quick check.
Oh boy. Ooh. That's a +4.
Sam got a -1, but I am also going to use a fate point, utilizing my high concept of legendary foresight, just because my psychic powers are just
They're
off
that
the
good.
charts. Yeah, they're that good.
Absolutely.
And I will go ahead and choose to re-roll, actually,
Yeah.
because
Is it worse?
it's worse. I got a -2.
You'll like get a false reading.
You are so laser focused in on her face, and you are just like racking your brain. Whatsly, with that +4, I'm also going to have you make a clever roll.
Oh, that's a +2.
All right. So Sam is so focused on her face, and he's thinking, I know I've seen someone like her before. You are still taking on and off your mask, still trying to get it figured out. And you take it off, and just quickly enough, you take it off as it still has one of the faces on there. And when you hold it there, and you look at her face, and you look at the mask for just a second, you see it. You see the family resemblance. She looks a lot like the man that Chevy was yelling at in person. The one he seemed to be calling Lloyd.
I'm gonna grab Sam by the shoulder and be like, it's Lloyd, one of his, she's related to Lloyd. Look at the resemblance. You see it? Look at her nose. Look at her nose.
Of course I see it. Do you take me for a fool?
No, I was just trying to help. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
It's okay. You're helping you're helping to narrow in my psychic focus here. So thank you.
Okay. Oh, so do we know? Would she be like? How old is she?
She seems not too old. Probably in her mid-30s.
If Chevy was supposedly 79 when he passed at the funeral, that would put her to be a good 40, 50 years younger than him. Maybe like Lloyd's daughter or granddaughter.
The spirits are telling me that this seems to be right.
And as you're all kind of looking at each other, just kind of conversing, it feels a little uncomfortable to you because you feel like people should be looking at you. You're standing in the middle of a crowd, dressed in some very unusual clothing, with someone eulogizing someone behind you, and no one's even looking at you. But in the middle of your conversation, suddenly, this woman, her eyes open wide for a second, and she looks at you. Her jaw kind of drops for a second. I need you all to roll your dice again.
Oh boy. +1.
-1.
-1.
All right, again, you feel yourselves sucked backwards. You see her head, in the very last moment, you see her head kind of cocked to the side, a look of confusion cross her face. And then it's night.
Thanks so much for stopping by, everyone. This is Nat One Nerds Podcast. I'm Brandon.
I'm Parker.
And we really appreciate you guys stopping by to take some time and hang out with us and listen to our thoughts on the system.
If you want to hear more from us, we're on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcast, and Amazon Music currently.
And if you want to reach out to us, we'd love to hear from you on our social media. We have both Facebook and Instagram, and that is at Nat1NerdsPodcast. And we even have an email with nat1nerdspodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your comments, complaints, what you think about the current systems, ideas for new systems. If you want to say hello, anything. We'd love to hear from you guys. This is Nat One Nerds Podcast, signing out.
Happy rolling.